Hi again. I know it's been a while since I've sent a message out. I seem to have got busy there, and I was a little bit up in the air with some things that are going on in the way of school and school finance. So I've held off on the month of February and March from saying much, just for the simple fact I didn't really know what to tell you. But I think it's time to give you an update as to what's going on in the world of school. And we're going to start with state assessments. The state rolled out a new state assessment, so to speak, this year, at least a new technology on it. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of the results of this for the state assessment. I do know this, that in the last week or so, we've had 3 shutdowns, meaning the technology that is necessary to pipe these tests out to all the students has been tampered with somehow. I don't know if it was, I think it's an accident. I know the technology at West Franklin here at our school at all 3 campuses is working just fine. I know that they had a construction accident in Lawrence that shut down testing the other day. I know this morning they sent out a email to all of us telling us that testing was shut down. So as parents and patrons, I just want you to think about this for a minute. If you were a student, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, et cetera, student, and you were taking a test of this magnitude, and all of a sudden the computer screen went down, then to restart that test sometime later or to pick up where you left off at definitely is going to have an effect on the results. So I'm not sure where all this is going at this point. I know that our teachers and our kids are doing the best they can, and I applaud them for that. I know it's not an easy situation, so hopefully it'll get better on the state's part as opposed to what it is now, and hopefully we can get some results that will help us show where our kids are at, that will show us our strengths academically and show us our weaknesses academically. But it'll be several months before we have a chance to really disseminate that, and hopefully the rest of this testing season will go good. So keep your fingers crossed that things pick up and go in the right direction. The other thing I've held off, and the reason I have, is state finance. And I'm sure that a lot of you have probably followed that through the newspaper or through the media one way or another, be it TV, radio, whatever. And I'm sure it's out there on Facebook, and I'm sure it's out there on various websites that you get your news from. I've held off because they've battled back and forth in the legislature as to what to do for school finance. And to bring you up to date, there was a court case brought against the state of Kansas, and the court case basically has 2 pieces to it. One of those pieces is called equity, and the other piece is whether or not you actually put enough money into education. So far, the court put a mandate out to the legislators, I think in the first week or 2 of February, saying you have to come up with a more equitable, meaning equal or fair way to fund it than you currently have. And if not, the court said they would shut schools down come July 1st of 2016. So after several weeks of whatever it is they do in Topeka, they came up with, right before Easter, the Thursday before, the legislators, both houses, passed what they consider to be a piece of legislation that makes it equal to all school districts throughout the state. The court has yet to rule on that as to whether or not they consider it to be equitable or not. But to give you an example of equity, if we were to raise taxes or raise 1 mil of tax in USD 287, 1 mil raises about $40,500, and I'm pretty close, give or take a few dollars. So for 1 mil of tax in 287, it's a little over $40,000. Just stop and think of what the valuations would raise if you went to Johnson County to, say, the Olathe School District. 1 mil of tax would raise considerably more money. If you go right next door to our neighbors at USD 290, 1 mil of tax in Ottawa raises significantly more money than 1 mil of tax in USD 287. And as I alluded to you in one of my earlier videos, that's all based upon the evaluation or valuations of the property within your school district. There are districts that are a lot poorer than us. There are many districts that are a lot richer than us. So what the Supreme Court was telling the legislature was, your current block grant funding is not equitable to all districts. With that being said, the legislators passed a piece of legislation, and along with that, it was called, quote unquote, hold harmless. And I'll explain hold harmless in a minute. But supposedly, this piece of legislation is to exist for 1 year until the legislators have time to put together what they consider to be a fair and equitable school funding formula. So who knows where we're at this point? I hope the court evaluates the legislation as the legislators do. If they don't, then I guess we're back to square one, and I'm not sure where our funding will be. The hold harmless part of that legislation basically said that no district will receive less money next year than we did this year. So, like I said, I don't know if I'm telling you that we do have a finance formula or not, because it's all in the hands of the court at this point, and they could turn around and say no, and then the legislators would have to pick back up and find something else to do. I do not think that the relationship between the court and the legislators appears to be real strong, and I'm not sure. There's really no need for me to comment on that because there's nothing I can do. But that's where we sit at this point. The other piece of that lawsuit, which is yet to be ruled on, is whether or not the amount of funding is fair. So one aspect of that lawsuit is what we're doing, is the formula equal to everybody? And the other part of that lawsuit is there enough money even if it is equal for everybody? So the fair amount of money has yet to be dealt on. The equity part, they're in the process of dealing. So where that goes, like I said, I don't know. I've consulted, I think, every lawyer there is in the way of the Kansas Association of School Boards as to what happens if schools do get shut down July 1st. And their answer has been consistent in they really don't know. It's new territory. It's never been done in the state of Kansas, as I understand it. So I'm not sure what shutting down schools July 1 would mean. Hopefully, for your children's sake and for you, because you are the people that support us with your tax dollars, hopefully schools won't get shut down. I don't think that would be positive for anybody. I know it wouldn't be positive for the kids. And you can say, well, we don't have school in July, Mr. Turner. Well, you're right. We do not. However, I've already begun, as have many of our staff, we're preparing for next year in the way of what we need in materials and supplies to teach our kids and to keep our kids on top of the academic world. That's not something you can just do in a week or two. So I hope that the Supreme Court and I hope the legislators take that into consideration when they think about shutting schools down, because if nobody came to work here in July, you probably wouldn't be happy patrons when school opened if it did in, say, the middle of August or end of August. There's a lot of work that gets done in schools over the summer, not just the maintenance and upkeep, but also the planning and the acquisition of educational materials and educational technology, and a lot of that gets done in the summers. So hopefully we'll be able to operate, but I guess we'll do whatever the law tells us to do. So stay tuned. I'm not sure where this will go. Should be interesting. I do know that as patrons of the state of Kansas, not just 287, you will have an opportunity this fall because, as I understand it, our local legislators are up for election. So it's your opportunity to cast your vote. I would highly encourage you to understand the magnitude of this election and what it can mean to public schools. And I ask that you question and research what your two local representatives, one is State Senator Karen Tyson, and the other one is State Representative Blaine Finch. You can go online and look at their voting records. You can go online to the State Department and look at the bills that they voted for or against. If you want to, I'll be glad to once again show you their phone numbers, and I'll get you a better picture of that here in just a minute. But there's an email and phone numbers that you can contact them at. I would encourage you to contact them and find out what you can. Representative Finch has always been very good about communicating with me. And if I have a question, I usually get a pretty timely response from him. And he's a very honest man. And I would encourage you to contact either of them. like I said, Representative Finch is very good about getting back to you. So please get involved in this next election. Look at it, if nothing else, it's for your kids. So I want to encourage that. I'm going to take just a minute here to hold this up so you can see how to contact your two local legislators. And once again, don't hesitate to contact them. I've told you about all I know that I think is accurate in the way of school finance or closing schools. I do know that, once again, our kids are doing the best they can on their state assessments. I applaud my administrators and my teachers and staff for all the interruptions we've had through the technology aspect of it. Once again, that's not as a result of USD 287 technology. That's a result of the testing center in Lawrence and how it's working. So be proud of the fact that your local technology is working very, very well. I do know this. It's still good to come to school every day. I'm sitting here right now, and I have Nick Streeter, who's in charge of doing this, and it's always good to visit with him, and he's got a smile on his face. I had another student in my office earlier today, Isaiah, and we had a good conversation. And as I walked through the middle school and high school today, it was sure good to see kids with a lot of energy, kids that had smiles on their faces. Teachers had smiles on their faces. They were well engaged in the endeavor of teaching your kids. And, you know, when I see that, that makes me smile. There's a reason why I come to work every day, and it's a good feeling. So be proud of what you do have here. I think we've got a pretty good school system. I think we've got a pretty good group of patrons. I think we're pretty fortunate in a lot of ways. Yes, we have to deal with outside entities that sometimes we can't control, but we'll do the best we can. So I thank you. I'm sorry it's been so long since the last message, but I hope you understand that rather than come in here and tell you what the various bills were as they changed almost daily in the legislature, that's where we stand today. And want to find something out about the court ruling and where our future may lie in the immediate aspect or immediate future, I'll be back here with Nick again, and we'll probably be filming another message. So hopefully we can bring you some good news. The good news today is your kids are working hard, your teachers are working hard, and they have smiles on their faces, and that's a good deal. So I thank you for your time, and as always, if you have questions, don't hesitate to call. Thank you.